Hello and welcome if you're new to my channel, and if you're a subscriber, a warm welcome back. Compliments of the season, as we say in Southern Africa, and I say this earnestly from the bottom of my heart, coming from the backdrop of 2020, which was arguably the most harrowing, the most difficult, trying and challenging year for the majority, if not everyone in this world, whether you are directly affected by COVID and you contracted the virus and are having to deal with the long-term repercussions, or you lost someone or people who are nearest and dearest to you, or your livelihood was changed forever. Every single person in this world was touched in one way or the other. And I remember in the United Kingdom, we went through the first lockdown for just under 5 months. And the first month I was okay because there was almost like a novelty element. We don't know what's happening. Which way is it going to go? What does this mean? What's going to happen? And things were made up as we went along. By the time I got to the end of the second month, I was now really struggling mentally. As somebody who lived during that pandemic on my own, I didn't have any, in fact, minimal human contact and virtually no physical contact with anyone. And I really, really struggled with that because I'm somebody who's fairly sociable. I go out most days. I also thrive. My love language is physical touch, which I touched on in the first video, part of this Conversations Over 40 series. I'll attach that video above. And physical touch is one of my love languages. I thrive from physical touch. I need physical touch. I give physical touch. So when I interact with people, I'm typically going to hold your hand, to hug you, to touch you, make some sort of contact. And I enjoy that. And I suddenly was not getting it. And I started to really struggle mentally. And I remember talking to friends and family, just trying to make sense of all of this and how best to move forward. And one thing I realized, and I've learned over the years, is that when you're going through a storm in life, whether it's physically or metaphorically, will always pass. There's no storm in life that doesn't pass. But the secret is, and it's yes, easier said than done, is to sit still during a storm. And during the pandemic, I started thinking, you know what? I have to turn the situation around. I'm struggling mentally and I don't want to fall apart. I don't even know what would happen if I fell apart. What does it mean? And I remember thinking, okay, it's possibly a time to just rest. Just rest, relax, rethink things, rejuvenate, and then redesign your life so that once the pandemic passes, you're in a different space, you've changed your life and you're a better person. Use this to really work on things that you want to improve or you want to see or change in your life. And so that became my goal, that when the pandemic ends, I want to do this, and then this is how I'm going to achieve it. And as I've learned with goals, it's not about saying I want to, for example, build a channel that has 100,000 people. It's about a channel with 100,000 people. In a year's time, you need to give it parameters, you need to give it boundary, you need to give it definition, the goal and how and when you're going to achieve it. And that same theme of the goal is what I've now carried through into the new year. And I've learned something different, that over the years, I've always, I think like many people, just set New Year's resolutions, which I typically forget about a few months in, whether it's joining the gym, being more intentional with exercise, eating better, cutting out sugar, whatever it may be, the usual things that most people do. But for the first time in my life, I've started looking at the new year as a new beginning, but setting goals that are more intentional, that have a much bigger meaning. They're a lot fuller, more holistic, and actually build my life, as opposed to just a melange of different New Year's resolutions that I've always done. And then I just pretty much forget about them as the year progresses. But a goal means the whole year is collectively spent towards building something. And that's something that I've learned through the pandemic, and I've thrived from it. And it's something that I've now used going forward. And I just thought, let me share. There may be other people who it strikes a chord with, who might appreciate this whole concept of the new year, new beginning. But it's not just the little things you do, but looking at the bigger picture. I'm Anesu Sagonda and I manage a luxury lifestyle management business in London. My content is largely educationally focused and geared towards people who are typically new to money or keen to explore alternate mid-lux or super brands that are a little under the radar but still heavily weighted on quality. 2021 is starting from an incredibly low base. Things got so low in 2020, they really can't get any lower. We have a vaccine in place, so logically, the only way is up. If things come down slightly, it'll be marginal, but now it's all pretty much looking up. And when setting goals, you know, especially 2021, things are going to get better. Things will start to open up, whatever it may be. And going back to my example of 100,000 subscribers in 1 year, for example, as a YouTuber, what I would recommend is, now that 2021 has opened up, I look at myself in the luxury space. When I started my channel, one of the things I really wanted to focus on was recording, whether it's with the brands who produce the products, the services, in showrooms, in lovely bars, just out in luxurious places or stores or showrooms. And that hasn't been possible with the pandemic. But now, with the cloud having lifted, it's possible to go back to showrooms and to stores and so forth. It's easier to get examples that I can talk about. And then to increase to 1,000, I would need to look at increasing the frequency of my posts and the type of posts. So, for example, instead of posting once a week, possibly 2, 3, 4 times a week, but doing different types of posts and varying them. Looking at the type of content, how do I differentiate myself from my competitors? What's my niche element or my unique selling point? So increasing the frequency, the type of posts, looking at topics that are trending, that are also evergreen. You know that if somebody comes to your channel in 1 year, in 10 years, the content is still very much applicable. And I remember during the pandemic talking to a friend who was really struggling with alcohol. She was drinking excessively during the pandemic, and she was asking me what I would suggest. How can she cut back? And this was in view of my turning 38 and changing my diet and just radically changing my life. And she was wondering, wow, how did you do it? And the first thing that I noticed, I'll attach that video above, is that you have to prepare yourself mentally. With anything, people don't appreciate 90% of the battle is preparing yourself mentally. Once you've prepared yourself mentally and you're comfortable and at peace with what you'd like to achieve, it becomes incredibly easier. So with alcohol or sugar, whatever you want to cut back, regardless of what it is, the principles are the same. So what I would always suggest is prepare yourself mentally. And then the second thing is, instead of going cold turkey, which to me is just wholly unsustainable, very few people can maintain that. Once they go cold turkey, they tend to come back to something. Whereas if you, for example, give yourself a goal of cutting back in 6 months, and you cut back, you work back how often you cut out the alcohol. So for example, your first month you drink every day of the week. The second month, you cut back by 1 day, so it's only 6 days of the week. The second month, 5, and you keep going, whether you can manage 1 or 2 days a week, until you're down to the point you would like to actually achieve. But if it's a slow, gradual, sustainable pace, it means you're able to keep it up. Provided you're mentally prepared, you're able to keep it up and then stay off whatever it is that you have. And I think of sugar, for example. I really don't have the appetite for sugar, and I'm very sensitive. Where I could eat, for example, a Twix bar, I'm going to include my chocolate video above. Twix is made from a lot of sugar, and I got that sugar rush. I can't do that now. I've cleaned up my diet, and I really struggle with processed food, food that's highly synthetic. It just messes up with my system, and I notice the difference between Twix, for example, and a really good chocolate like K&M, which is my favorite gourmet chocolate. From Keller and Mani, and the sweetness in that is very different. There are no additives or preservatives in the chocolate. It's just the natural sweetness from the chocolate. It is delicious, and I really like that, and my body has adjusted to that. So cut something out gradually and you're able to sustain it. It's slow, your body gets used to it and adjusts accordingly. But the other things that work really well, especially with your goals, is have an accountability partner or person or someone or something you can account to, so you know if you're on track. They help you get back on track, especially if you're struggling with something. You will need that, because there'll be difficult times and you need someone just to pick you up or just help you keep focused. And then the other thing is also to give yourself rewards when you achieve a task, achieve a goal, achieve a part of the goal. At least congratulate yourself. Do something positive, something to reward yourself. It makes a huge difference, and it makes things a lot easier to attain, because you know you have something at the end of each particular juncture before you get to the ultimate end of the journey, but most of all, enjoy the whole journey. One thing I've learned from COVID is that life is too short. It's so unpredictable, and you could be so focused on a goal at the end of the year, and you're just so focused and looking at that and not thinking about anything else. You don't actually enjoy the journey, the process of getting to the goal, and you're so caught up in the goal and don't have fun. And as you know, you could drop dead tomorrow. I don't know, a morbid example, I know, but it's real, and it's something that has happened to people where I have a client who was so focused on retiring and amassing this amount of money, and then he lost his family just as he got to the year he had planned to retire. So these are some of the things that I just say: enjoy the journey, enjoy the whole process as it unfolds, enjoy every step of the way, and always appraise as you go along and modify things that may not be working and improve the process. But do let me know in the comments down below if you are a goal setter, if it's something you'd consider as opposed to doing your New Year's resolutions where it's a couple of things here and there. Are you able to maintain that? Do you get real results in your life? Do let me know. But as always, do share, like, and subscribe. And thank you for watching. Stay safe.